What are we doing today?
Gutters.
Special ones? So, I got this guy. It's a new gas pot. I forget the name of it. This goes in this hole here, and these connect to the end of this here, and then it heats up these irons. This is a 3-pound iron. They just sit in there like that and heat up. There's a 5-pound iron. Stick that in there. I don't think I'm going to be using the 5-pound iron too much, just because I'm doing copper gutters here. I'm going to show you how we clean these, or how I clean them, so that the solder and sticks on there right. And I also want to make a tip here. I want it really, a really pointy tip in order to get in to those corners of the gutters. Got gloves. You got to have the little flux brushes. Where is the, here's the acid. Sometimes I put a little shot of that in my coffee. Get you going. Get you, here's a 1/4 pound 50/50 lead tin soldering bar. That's the solder. And then I use this guy to sharpen the tips of these guys. And then I'll show you how I get all that looking nice. So anyway, we're over here doing copper gutters today. So we'll be soldering those end caps. We're just switching the machine. This machine allows copper gutters to run through it. There's a smaller version of this, which is the Junior, I think. This is the Big Daddy. And this does the copper through the machine. You love it?
I'm fighting
it. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. And there's the copper. Runs off of here down into the machine. And we're going to be doing the copper on this roof, or copper gutters on this house. So there we go. All right, this is how you grind the top of the soldering irons. There we go. Hopefully I don't burn my jacket. All right, the first part of getting these irons done is to create a little pan here. So I just took a piece of the copper gutter, and we're gonna bend this up so that it's like, kind of like a tray. So I'm gonna fold one side up, and then we're gonna put a lot of acid in here. We're gonna heat up the irons, and we're gonna sit them in a kind of a solution of acid, and I'm gonna melt the solder in there, and then that's gonna put a nice layer on the, it's gonna adhere a nice layer of solder onto the actual tip of the irons. So here we go. So I'm just making a little spot where this solder can sit in here and not leak out the sides. So now that I've got this kind of set up, I'm gonna turn the irons on, heat them up. So there we go, we got this on. It's heating this up right now. I should probably move this out of the way. Now we got that, I just put some acid in here. They tried to burn my coffee. You got a hot dog?
No le alcanza a agarrar, ¿va? No baja ya. Quítalo. Ya se extravió.
All right, so this is how it works. This is the gas pot. I got the propane on in here. You got to heat them up so that they're super hot. And then what you do is you take them out, and this is where I have to put the solder, melt some of the solder on these hot irons and stick it in a solution of the acid. Because once I because it's copper, the solder won't just adhere to it. It needs the acid to help it adhere to the iron. So basically what you do is you heat up the solder and you put some of this, you can hear it sizzle. You can put some of that into the iron, into the solder, into the acid, and then you rub it back and forth on all sides until you get it to adhere to the tip all on every side of it. And then once you've got that, you're ready to go solder whatever you want. If you don't do this step, then it will not seal. It will not allow you to solder anything to anything. So that's why I made this little tray, and we're ready to solder some stuff. So once we solder these things, we got to clean out all the acid that we put on there. So we just use water. What we do is we end up getting a water bottle, poking a hole at the top of it, and then spray it on there and just wipe that acid off. The problem with the acid is it's good. We need it to adhere the solder to the copper, because it kind of creates a chemical burn on the metal itself to allow it to adhere. But then it's also doesn't make sense because it'll stain and mark up and eat and oxidize the copper. So we gotta wipe it off. This is the acid that we use. It's an all-purpose flux capacitor. There it says flux even. The joke is that we end up pouring this in people's coffee while we work with them, but then they die, so not a good joke. Yeah, just drill in the middle. Good. Now with these, you see how the seam is back here? You put that, you solder that first, and then we put that towards the back. Some people like to put it towards the front. That way if it leaks, it's leaking out of the front of the, but we solder it. So for me, what I would do is I would put this in this way if I wasn't soldering this, but I'm soldering it, so I'm putting it back this way so you can't see it, just in case the spout falls or something. That's how it sits in there. And then this all gets soldered. You want to mark this next one, and then take two more and put them on those two and do the same thing. Mark the end caps. We only have 6, so we're gonna do 6 gutters until, yeah, because I only have 6 of these right now. Oh no, I spilled the coffee. Not the coffee. All right. So let's do some solder. What the hell? See if these work. Yeah, buddy. You just need a little bit of this. And you let the heat drag it down into the acid. So you just need the heat to pull it. All right. I gotta clean all these off. You can drill that open. What you want to do is you want to just cut outside of that line just a little bit, just a small amount, so that this fits in. Because as it gets, see how it's like this and it gets wider. So you're measuring the widest part, but you're gonna want to cut just around the outside of that line just a little bit. So, like I said, I'm going to face this to the back. If I wasn't soldering it, I'd face it to the front. Because if this ever splits, it's going to leak into the front. And if it leaks in the back, it's basically there's a wall usually closest to the house. So you want this to leak farthest away from the house if it does ever split. But this won't split because it's soldered. So I'm going to stick it to the back for aesthetic reasons. It just basically pops in there. I'm going to put the flux around the outside, the acid, and solder this. Over here, I'm going to grab the smaller iron. This is a 3-pound iron. What I like to do is get all that extra solder off of there. You gotta wear leather gloves because you won't feel the heat as quick and they won't burn your hands. And then basically you're just dragging the solder. Let the heat kind of settle in there. Now with these, you want to solder both sides of this. I gotta heat these up. They're not as hot. So you want to solder the pan. This isn't hot enough. I turned them down, now I gotta turn them back up. I need more heat on these things. This one looks pretty good. Oh, see, I used the wrong hand. See how like it melts the glove? Sometimes I'll just tack this and then just, doesn't take much. Yeah, these things are not hot. Still not hot enough. Fuck. There we go. Heat up to the right temperature. You don't want it too hot because then it becomes like a liquid mess. You don't want it too cold because then it won't work right. So, got to get it just right. We don't want to put too much heat on here because then we'll end up burning those copper from underneath and it'll look like shit. So, just enough, you know? I don't see any voids in that. So that is, one is done. I might want to knock this down a little bit. Just so it doesn't have such a hump. All right, that one's done. Each one of these takes about a 1/4 pound of solder. These are 1/4 pound bars, and it's 50-50. So it's 50% tin, 50% lead. And when you burn it, I'm sure it is killing my brain cells. But did I have any for real? I don't think I did. All right, so we got this cut out. On to the next one. And I got it soldered. We're gonna face it towards the back, drop it in. And you'll hear it snap. That's locking it in. That's really basically it. Repeat the process 700 times, or all those gutters. We soldered the end caps yesterday. As you can see, they're there. Now we're gonna solder this. There it is. Beautiful. See how like I tack it there so it doesn't move? Sometimes they like to move on you. So just tack a couple spots and then get after it. I'm sure somebody's watching this and is like, I can do better solder job than you. Let me just explain to you. It's 11 o'clock. I ingested 7 cups of coffee, and it is officially only 20 degrees out here. So you want to say something, come out here and do it yourself. The fact that it's cold out makes these soldering irons cool down too fast. I don't want to heat them up too hot because then they burn and then they're fucking useless. Oops, this one's hot. See how much better that is? Just makes life easier. You just drag it. Drag it. Drag it. Drag it. Make a nice smooth transition. There it is, boy. Come get some of this. Come and get it. Come on, buddy. I only show my best work. When you do this all day, the best work sometimes is good enough work. Because this shit ain't gonna leak. That's for damn sure. All right. There you go. You usually find some really cool things at people's properties, like some random stuff. Look at this. Someone had a massive kegger party, whatever. I mean, how many beers do you think are there? Like 30? It was like a 30 pack. Someone drank it all, left the party cups. Just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Because look, watch. The guy's house. The party. The guy's house. The kegger. All right, we got one up. Copper always looks shiny, but this will turn brown. And then in 30 years, maybe it'll turn green. But it's shiny as shit right now. It looks like, you know, gold. I got some gold gutters. This thing's draining about 1/4 of an inch all the way down. So we just simply use a small torpedo level in a couple spots to make sure that that bubble on the level is about 1/4 of an inch the opposite direction that we want to drain it. And that's it. Here's our setup, by the way. The setup is important. when you want to be efficient. So we set up yesterday we soldered all the end caps, and then today we're using 2 sets of sawhorses. One side we put 2 gutters on, the other side we put 2 gutters on. All the stuff is in the center, so everything is very conveniently located so that I can grab the irons, go over here. We have a little bit of a system where the guys are finding out where the locations of the outlets go, and then what they're doing is they're taking these gutters, setting them up for me, cutting the openings, marking it, cutting it. I come and flip them back over. I put in the outlets and solder them up, and then they come back, and what they'll do is they have to clean this off like you saw us cleaning off yesterday. We're going to clean this off so we get the acid off of there. They're going to clean the back of this that I explained earlier. Copper gutters, copper gutters. They're so shiny. They're up. Got the decorative strap hangers. Sometimes we like to use rack and key. Sometimes we use those. But we use the decorative hangers for the spouts on these.